Hello, my name is Voya. Welcome to My Deep Guide, another edition of Q&A. Let's roll the questions. I'm yet to see if there's any e-reader capable to auto-rotate into horizontal two-page view. That's a really cool observation. And I'm racking my brain like going through, can Kindle do it? I'm not really sure. Do hit me in the comments down below. Yeah, I'm not really sure about that, but that's such a good point because especially on bigger devices, that would be like almost a requirement, like especially on a 13.3-inch device like this. That would be such a cool thing that you just kind of flip it and it goes into a two-page mode if you want to, both for documents and notebooks, to maximize the user space. That really good point and a really good observation, and I haven't really thought about that, but I think it's like it would be good for both readers and notebooks as an optional kind of thing for the user to choose. Cool, thanks for sharing. I'm here to find out about the pen for the Go 10.3 Lumi. Highly usable, thank goodness. If Boox going this direction, they need to go all in. I will wait for Note Max Lumi if such a thing ever exists. Yes, for the active pen, yes, but the device needs to charge it and it needs to be really good. It needs to have a rear eraser, it needs to have a button, it needs to feel good, it needs to have a nib standard that we can use, like so that you can choose your own nibs and things like that. It needs to be not metal, it needs to be something that's comfortable, it needs to have good weight balancing. It like, yes, can you make active USI pens great and better than EMR? Absolutely. It is a better technology, but as you said, it needs to be done really well, and highly usable doesn't mean that it's done really well. So I think there's still quite a long way to go until we are there, at least with Boox and Boox devices. This is regarding My Deep Guide Meeting Planner or MMP. Would this work well with my Manta, or would the aspect be off as it was designed for other sizes? It was designed for other sizes. The aspect is 4.3 on all of these devices, and it doesn't really matter which size you have. So if you go from 6-inch or all the way to 13.3-inch, if the aspect ratio remains, which is 4.4 to 3, which is what Manta has, then all works well. And MMP is designed to work perfectly well with Remarkable, Manta, user interface, and everything like that. So much so that I've really paid attention that the dockable and movable toolbar is also accounted for in the margins of the document itself. So you can have the toolbar docked on the left, right, top or bottom side on your Manta, and it will still not interfere with the content of the planner itself. So yes, it absolutely fits, and it's been designed to fit Supernote user interface regardless of the size. I just find it amusing that constant knock on the Remarkable platform. Someone said to them, the Remarkable is best in class. You replied, no, they are not, and you gave a valid point. But in the instant of Supernote, though they lack all of the other things the competition offers, according to all of the other things the competition offers, really? According to you, they're doing their own thing and going in their own direction, but Remarkable doing their own thing and going in their own direction must be knocked down, though the point of the Remarkable 3 is a valid one. Well, let me just kind of simplify it really down to one single point of differentiation between Remarkable and Supernote. As far as them doing their own thing, sure, let's say they're doing their own thing, both are doing their own thing. The main difference between these two is that Supernote doing their own thing is they're doing it really well and competently. Remarkable isn't, because when Supernote implements a feature, largely and to a large degree, it will work really well, and it will be implemented in such a way that majority of us haven't really thought about, and it introduces something new. How digests have been now completely revamped from something that's like a margin or like an asterisk, something that's like a side thought, to something that's actually genuinely useful. Whereas Remarkable has built a terrible track record at competent implementation of their own thing. So the main difference between Supernote and Remarkable doing their own thing is competency and quality of work delivered. Well, look forward to these so much. Have just read news that Remarkable is reducing their workforce and that sales are not very good at the moment. I have a question: that what happens if the company folds and you own a Remarkable Paper Pro? Will it still be functional without the company? That's a very important question in these troubling times for a lot of companies, Remarkable included. And by the time you're watching this, already 40% of the workforce has been laid off. They've changed their CEO, or they haven't changed it. They sacked their CEO, and they have a transitional CEO here while they're trying to find a new one. So troubling times indeed. As for what happens when a company goes under, that really depends on the services and what the device actually relies on. And here, the point of the subscription and cloud-based services is a very problematic one. I can connect to the Quirk logic, for example. That definitely is an example of what we can expect to happen when a company goes under. And unfortunately, in that case, the device was unbelievably limited without any of the software cloud features in there. And what happened was that all of the software cloud features are gone. They're no longer supported. They don't exist. There's nothing to log into or anything like that. So what you're left with is the bare bones device and what it can do on its own. And in the case of Remarkable, that is a very, very big point of concern. Normally, what I would recommend is log out of your account and just see how far you can go with your device. But can you actually log out of your account on a Remarkable at all? I've never tried. I think that's a really important point to kind of test out, because when you power it up, the very first thing is pair the Remarkable to your account, and only then can you proceed further. I'm not really sure if you can log out of the account and use the Remarkable device at all without an account completely off. So if that truly is the case, not are we only looking to, in the worst case scenario, if Remarkable goes under and there's no services or anything like that, because nobody's going to be able to kind of support that, we might be looking actually at bricks that you won't be able to do anything unless they are forthcoming enough, and if they foresee that this is something that might happen, that they basically unlock that option so that you can use all of the functionalities that the device can do on its own, sans the Connect subscription and cloud-based services, which is a lot of stuff. OCR recognition, Google Drive and all that kind of stuff. It's all subscription based and Connect based. I think I'm going to kind of look into this a lot more and maybe make a dedicated video about that, because I think it warrants investigation and additional looking into. Hey Voya, thanks for the video. I use my Supernote Manta daily. Do you think it's safe to download the calligraphy pen beta? I don't want to risk the stability of the device since I use it daily, but I really love a calligraphy pen. It's a very simple kind of thing. For any device that you are using on a daily basis, beta is not an option. Just put it into your head that no, I cannot use beta, because beta is beta for a reason. It can be an incredibly stable beta, it can be a bulletproof perfect beta version, but it's still going to be a beta. And if it's your daily driver, just be patient. If it's in beta and it's good, it's coming your way. It will be getting there, and you will be able to use the feature that you're looking for, in this case the calligraphy pen. So just be patient and it will get there. And you will be thankful for that, because in more than one occasions, it happens that the beta feature, while it's still in testing phase, it can lead to outcomes that are ranging from annoying to moderate to really, really severe or catastrophic. And on a daily driver that you're relying on, because Supernote devices are basically tools that we rely on, you really don't want to think about that or that event actually happening to you. This is regarding Boox Tab X. Is it still a great deal in 2026? I really don't think so. Not unless you really, really need that front light, but with the Note Max basically dominating every single aspect of that device except the brightness of the white, and of course lacking the front light. You do have the alternative of the Tab XC, which is actually cheaper. Tab X was an incredibly expensive device and still really expensive. The only way that it actually makes any sense is that if you find it for a really, really good cheap price, and I'm talking like less than 400 bucks, then it may make sense. But it's already a very dated device. It's 207 ppi. The display, while really one of the brightest displays that are there, it's a dated display. It had ghosting issues, it had refresh issues, it had a ton of different types of functional issues. Some of them were not really fully resolved. So it's really not a complete or a tightened down product at all. So for example, if Tab X was abandoned software-wise and Note Max was abandoned software-wise at the same time, they would be in a completely different category of how buttoned down and tightened down they are as devices. Tab X was never fully completed, so to speak, while Note Max is, and the Tab XC is a much better proposition if you're looking for a device with a front light, because you were going to get a front light, a color, and all that kind of stuff. The e-ink market has expanded greatly since 2017. Indeed it is. There are so many competitors today that Remarkable's strategy seems unsustainable. Remarkable is one excellent platform among many excellent platforms. It's a really difficult thing to navigate because while the market has expanded, I don't think that the user base has expanded that much. It has expanded, but not that much. It's still a niche type of a device, and while more and more people are gradually like leaking into the world of e-ink, it's not something, I don't think that you as a company can have a sustainable business model relying fully on hardware sales. You can if you don't grow. So you need to find as a business an equilibrium of your market share and what is the reality of you kind of controlling a certain market share of the overall market, percentage-wise, and then reevaluate that on a quarterly or a yearly basis and grow as a reaction to that, not preemptively. Where I think Remarkable really went wrong is that they grew in anticipation of something that never happened. And because they had really, really a lot of growth in a short amount of time, and the market simply did not respond and their plans did not realize, they had to scale back. So that's something that's very, very difficult to kind of predict, especially in this chaotic version of events that we are living out through in this version of quantum reality. But I read the dramatic scaling down and changes that Remarkable is doing is simply basically walking back from what they attempted. It didn't work. Let's go back to something that's more stable for us and pivot and see where we can go and what can we sustain. Whether that's going to be just purely on hardware sales and more frequent releases of products, or it's going to be increasing value of Connect subscriptions so that it becomes a more reliable revenue stream, or most likely a combination of and a compromise of both, that remains to be seen. But the best path forward would be a compromise solution of both, but based on reality, not on hopeful projections. This is regarding Boox Go 10.3 Gen 2 Lumi. This was a great first impression, thank you. I have both the Lumi and the non-frontlit version, and ghosting is awful, I agree. I set my swipe gesture to refresh, but it is just really bad. The writing feel is excellent, one of the best, but the stylus is very slippery to me and was causing fatigue with long writing sessions. They have walked back Carta 1200 and are saying Carta HD now, so I wonder what the true spec bump is. Thanks for all you do. I think it's Carta 1200 still, but based on everything that I see on these devices and the measurements, and when I compare it to the Go 10.3, it's the same panel on that they have on Go 10.3 Gen 1. So if that's Carta HD, then it's Carta HD on all three of them. If it's Carta 1200, then it's Carta 1200 on all three of them. Ghosting, I think, is equally, more or less equally bad on all three of them. Writing feel, I wouldn't really agree that it's excellent. You can maybe say it's excellent for an active pen, or better than expected. It's good. It's very, very good, but it's not excellent. And I absolutely have experienced exactly the same thing as you, which is the slipperiness and the hardness of the pen and the ergonomics of the pen are such that only after like 12 to 15 minutes, my hand and the wrist actually get a lot of fatigue and quite a bit more tiring to use it, something like that, which is absolutely not the case with a good pen, which is the OG Kindle Premium pen, or Kindle Scribe Premium pen, not the new one. The new one is actually worse. So yeah, it cannot really be compared for longer writing sessions. So something that you absolutely have to keep in mind if you are considering the Boox Go 10.3 Gen 2 Lumi. That's a mouthful. I was fearful you were going to be cut off by the mountain fog at one stage. This is in regards to my one of my road trip movies. So scary yet so refulgent and restorative. How humbling to feel the sea and the mountains accept you as a guest. I think you've hit a few points there that really resonate well with me and that experience that I had, because it's like, first of all, it was like a completely insane type of thing that I've done. I've learned since then, but overexhausting yourself and leaving one of the hardest things will... I almost knocked you guys over, sorry. Leaving one of the hardest descents as one of the last things to do is incredibly irresponsible and bad thing that I've done. So yeah, I've learned since then. But the moment when you're like, you know, trying to reach and you're totally alone, there's no one else, you're on an island, and there's only one place where you can go for safety, shelter, and all that kind of stuff. So that's your destination. You're fully committed, and then the fog, not fog, but the cloud comes in, and it gets thicker and thicker, and it basically swallows you. At that point, you're like, okay, let me just hope that I can see forward enough, far enough, so that I can see where it goes. But it was good, because, you know, it was okay, limited visibility, nothing catastrophic, so that was good. The descent there was absolutely terrible, but you're surrounded by these really wonderful views, and the wildness and the power of that sea crashing on the rocks shore of the island. It's a spectacular experience, and something that I really want to kind of relive again, but in a wiser capacity now, because I've learned and I've grown. That's it for this edition of Q&A. Thank you so much for joining in, and thank you so much for posting questions. As usual, if you want your questions to be answered, the best way to kind of ensure that is to ask them directly here as comments in one of these Q&A videos. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy, and see you in the next video. Bye!